500 plus promotions and hirings being assessed. The immigration minister responds to that UN request, and BTC endorses Stephen Gardner. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your JCN News. It's Tuesday, October 5th. It's good having you with us. The official opening of Parliament since the Progressive Liberal Party won the government following general elections on September 16, 2021 takes place in less than 24 hours, and all the pomp and pageantry that takes place downtown in Rawson and Parliament Squares will take place at the Bahamar Convention Center. Leader of Government Business in the House of Assembly, Obi Wolshcombe, who also holds the portfolio of Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, spoke with reporters just before the weekly cabinet meeting Tuesday morning on what can be expected from him in his new role as the leader of government business.
Of course, we have a new speaker. I think the leader of our country will make a statement tomorrow. As you see who the leader of the House in terms of the speaker will be and the president of the Senate. I think he's making a distinctive statement about diversity. He's making a statement about his commitment to the gender equality, and I believe that it sends a very strong signal, an example of what leadership is really all about. We intend to have a very aggressive legislation. We intend to be very organized. We intend to ensure that our sessions begin with substantive discussions predicated upon the things we agreed to during the campaign. And by that I mean, when we agreed with the Bahamian people, this is what we would do to ensure that we fulfill our perspective of a new day.
Minister Wolshcombe ensures that this Davis Cooper-led administration will be accessible and will not run away from any questions presented to them. The opening of Parliament is set for tomorrow at 9 a.m. Minister of State with responsibility for the public service, Pia Glover-Rowe, providing the media with an update on the recent promotions within the public service sector, promotions and hirings that occurred in the last few weeks of the minister administration. Here's Laurencia Smith with that report.
State Minister for Public Service Pia Glover told reporters before the weekly cabinet meeting today that an assessment of some 500 plus recent hirings and promotions within the public service is taking place. Shortly after coming into office last month, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service Fred Mitchell informed reporters that all promotions that were granted in the last weeks of the minister administration have been temporarily halted.
So we have placed all pending promotions and hirings on hold. I am making an assessment in the shortest possible time. I'm working very hard to make sure that the assessments are done in a fair time because obviously persons are waiting. It's not our intention to disenfranchise. We have to make sure that policy is being conformed to. We have to make sure that these promotions are being issued on merit. And of course, we also want to I continue to say that we want to consider that we make sure that our personnel is not disenfranchised.
The state minister knows that the process is going smoothly. However, she wants individuals to bear in mind that assessments have been made in consultations with other ministries. State Minister Roel Glover says the public service needs to be reinvented.
We need to come into the 21st century, and that starts with digitalization of our files. A lot of the holdup in the process is, of course, waiting for paper files, trying to locate them, and then the process of going through them. In our former administration, we began a process of digitization of files. That was halted in 2017. We are seeking to advance that process again. It was almost done, and we want to make sure that we bring the public service into the 21st century. When we do that, it brings efficiency and it brings effectiveness. So that is critical for me at this time. That is a mandate of our government to ensure that we bring efficiency and effectiveness to the service.
Meanwhile, on the campaign trail, the former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis noted the Free National Movement's plan to help recent college students to get into the public service.
We've assessed the program, and at this time we see no reason why it should cease, and simply because we understand that every year there's a large number of young people that would move into the workforce, and as a government we always want to make sure that we're providing a succession planning mode, which means we have to engage our young people. So at this time, upon review, it doesn't seem like that program is something that we would cease, but of course we may look to improve the system as it is.
Now, the Minister of State, Pia Glover, did not say when the assessment program will be done, but she hopes to have it done in a timely fashion. I'm Laurentia Smith for Jcn News.
Shifting gears, 368 Haitian nationals, that's 294 males and 74 females, were convicted of illegal landing in the Bahamas during court proceedings over in Matthew Town, Inagua on Monday. The Department of Immigration in a statement says the migrants appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt and Magistrate Shaka Seville and pleaded guilty to the charge of illegal landing. These migrants were a part of a group of 430 migrants that were found and retrieved from Flamingo and Waters Key, Ragged Island, after the Royal Bahamas Defense Force was informed by a local fisherman that a suspected Haitian vessel had been seen partially submerged off Flamingo Key and a group of individuals sighted. Operations Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, or OPBAT, officials were also informed and responded to the area and confirmed the sighting. As a result, RBDF assets, as well as the Royal Bahamas Police Force Marines and immigration officials, were alerted and dispatched to the area. The migrants were subsequently turned over to immigration officials on Friday, October 1st. 62 minors were a part of that group. The migrants convicted were granted a conditional discharge on the premise that they do not return to the Bahamas without the permission of an immigration officer, and early deportation was also recommended. Immigration officials say repatriations are expected to begin as early as tomorrow, October 6th. Many countries in the Western Hemisphere, including North, South, and Central America and the Caribbean, have been inundated with illegal migrants fleeing their homeland, mainly from the island of Haiti, in search of a better life. Many countries, including the Bahamas, have engaged in repatriation programs, returning illegal migrants back to Haiti. On Monday, the Immigration Minister, Keith Bell, gave an update on the repatriation process, as we hear in this report from Jarino Saunders.
Minister of Immigration and Labor Keith Bell giving members of the media an update on the ongoing repatriation process of hundreds of illegal migrants from Haiti after they entered the southern Bahamas on several sloops over the past 2 weeks. Just this past Friday, October 1st, the government repatriated 516 illegal migrants to Haiti, while 430 remained on Inagua, including 294 men, 73 women, 40 boys, 21 girls, and 2 infants. According to Minister Bell, Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt has returned to Inagua to continue court proceedings that charge the migrants with illegal entry.
Once those trials are completed, we will send a diplomatic note to Haiti, working with the embassy to ensure that the repatriation is swift as well.
Now, while the major concern of those residents on Inagua is the current COVID pandemic, Minister Bell says health officials have not informed him of any COVID cases among the illegal migrants and that testing is ongoing. He then sought to explain the snags in the repatriation process last week.
There were several issues. The first one, you recall, when we wanted to repatriate as early as last week, Wednesday, we got word from the Haitian government that the technical equipment at the airport at Port-au-Paix had collapsed. And so those that were repatriated had to be diverted to Cape Haitian. And then the second process obviously was we had to ensure that we got the permission from the Haitian government. Otherwise they would not have taken their own citizens back. So that really was the whole up. But we were ready, and you all saw we had the planes on the ground and we moved in record time. We intend to do the very same thing this week.
The question still remains, what is the cost to house, feed, provide medical attention, and repatriate the illegal migrants? To that, the minister says this.
No price tag. I can say again that I want to thank the Defense Force and our U.S. counterparts. They have intercepted 2 other boats out in the Atlantic, and they have turned them around. And so they're doing a yeoman's job in terms of blocking the passage. And so in terms of a figure, we can, because we hope that none gets through. But we know that more on the way, and we're trying to stop them and turn them back around immediately.
Jurino Saunders for JCN News.
The immigration minister also responding to a United Nations report last week for UN agencies, including the UN Refugee Agency, the International Organization for Migration, the United Nations Children's Fund, and the UN Human Rights Office, called on countries to refrain from expelling Haitian migrants without properly assessing whether they need protection. Minister Bell says the government is minded of the concerns expressed by the United Nations agencies, but suggests the government has to do what it has or what is in the best interest of Bahamian citizens.
Our position is we have to look at it. When you look at the number of migrants that came in there, it's virtually impossible for us to hold to repatriation, precisely because the longer we kept those persons in those conditions, there were two places that we had, two auditoriums, and so we need to, once they are processed, we need to get them out of those facilities, because then, of course, the longer we keep them there, it lent the potential for abuse, etc., etc. So we had to get them back home.
The UN agencies are encouraging countries in North, South, and Central America, in particular, to adopt a comprehensive regional approach that ensures the protection of Haitian migrants moving throughout the Western Hemisphere. Meanwhile, the United States is also ramping up deportations for tens of thousands of Haitian migrants that crossed the U.S.-Mexico border within recent weeks. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.